but it doesn't hurt to have a backup plan as well as a backup to the backup. Also realize that you might have to deviate from your original plans to achieve your goals. When I was in college, I was a psychology pre-med major. To be prepared for the medical entrance exam, as well as be prepared for medical school, I had to take quite a few science courses. So I had it all mapped out. I knew what class I was going to take in what semester. But very soon, I came to realize that these science courses were quite intense. And as a result, it was very difficult for me to take more than one science class per semester. This was very discouraging to me, and it made me doubt whether I should go on to pursue my dream of becoming a doctor. In college, I was a member of the Minority Organization for Pre-Health Students, or MOPS as we call it. At one of the pre-med meetings, there was a panel of first-year medical students who came to the meeting to talk about undergraduate school, medical school, as well as their transition from undergraduate to medical school. They were also there to answer our questions. I asked my question about managing the science classes, and one of the panelists told me that she could sum up the answer in 2 words: summer school. I guess you could say that I had an aha moment. Summer school wasn't a part of my plan, but I realized that if I was going to make it to medical school, that it needed to become a part of my plan. Every summer during college, I was in summer school. I took classes one summer at ICC, one summer at Bradley, and one summer at Parkland Community College. And in addition, I continued to work hard during the academic school year. And by the grace of God, I got into medical school. And that brings me to my next point. Take care of your spiritual self. Life gets busy and hectic, especially when we are trying to pursue our goals and dreams. Even though that may be the case, never forget about God. Never forget that He is always with you and what He can do for you. I got through my first year of medical school and went on to my second year. The second year of medical school at the campus here in Peoria is considered to be even more difficult than the first. We spend the first half of our second year reviewing some general pathophysiology, and then the second year we go more in depth and we have to take tests on each organ in the body. For instance, we had to take tests on the lungs, the kidneys, the heart, as well as the digestive system. We were warned by our third and fourth year peers that the test on the digestive system was the most difficult and the one that most people failed and had to retake during the summer. As we got closer to the test, I got more and more nervous. A few days before the test, I guess you could say that I literally had a meltdown. I basically said that I couldn't do this anymore. I didn't want to be in medical school and I was going to drop out. That evening, I packed up my books and went home. I did a lot of soul searching and a lot of praying. I woke up the next morning feeling renewed and decided to give it another shot and go back to lecture. I also stepped up my study intensity in the remaining days before the test. As I had done prior to many tests before, I asked God to be with me and guide me through the test. After taking the test, we had a lunch break, and then we had to meet again to review the answers. My heart was literally pounding out of my chest as we went through the questions one by one. When all was said and done, I didn't just pass the test. It was in fact one of my highest scores for the whole year. And I can say that that was truly a major turning point for me on multiple levels. It was then that I knew that I was going to make it through medical school and become a doctor. It was also then when I truly understood the power of God, the power of prayer, and what God can do for you if you give your life to Him. Amen. It is so very important to take care of your spiritual self, but don't forget about taking care of your physical and mental well-being as well. This is something that is definitely easier said than done. I've seen patients, family, friends, as well as myself struggle with this. But I would like to encourage you to do simple things such as incorporate more physical activity into your daily life, add more fruits and vegetables to your diet. As a matter of fact, I'm still working on this diet thing, but about 14 months ago, I made the commitment to myself that I was going to get back on a regular exercise program, but I did not have a clue as to how I was going to do this. During my lunch hour, I typically have patient care responsibilities or am attending or giving a lecture. And in the evenings, I like to reserve that time for my family since I've been away from them all day. So one evening, I was sitting back and reading my Oprah magazine, and it featured an interview with our First Lady, Michelle Obama. And in that interview, she talked about her journey to getting healthy after having her daughters and the importance that health has played in her life. She also mentioned those 5 a.m. workouts. Of course, my first reaction was, there is no way in the world that I'm going to get up at the crack of dawn to work out. But then I sat back and thought that if she can do it with everything that she has on her plate, so can I. I realized the importance of taking care of myself and role modeling this behavior to my children. So in November 2008, I started getting up at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, and I'm here to say that it is one of the best things that I have ever done for myself. And let me tell you while you're clapping, it isn't easy. And that first day I didn't know if I was going to make it, but each day got easier and easier. And after I work out, I feel calm, I feel centered, and I can think so much more clearly. And it's very important to think clearly so that you are in a position to take advantage of opportunities. And that leads me to my next point. Please take advantage of opportunities, but also remember, don't be afraid to make your own opportunities that will enable you to accomplish your goals. Young people, you just don't know what good it did my heart to see you up here today. Continue to be involved with the Youth Heritage Ensemble. Continue to be involved with organizations such as Tomorrow's Scientists, Technicians, and Managers. Continue to take advantage of after-school tutoring offered by your school, offered by churches, and offered by organizations such as the Urban League. Also take advantage of those summer programs offered by Illinois Central College as well as Bradley University. Adults, I want to speak to you as well. This is a perfect opportunity to lead by example. If there are opportunities for development at your place of work, take advantage. If you have an opportunity to take a class, go back to school to obtain your GED, bachelor's, master's, or PhD, or an opportunity to learn a second career, take advantage. It is important to take advantage of opportunities, but realize that opportunity is not always going to fall in your lap and look up at you and say, hello, I'm opportunity and I'm here. Sometimes you have to get out there and make opportunity happen. In October of 2006, Bradley University brought Donna Brazil to be a guest speaker. For those of you who aren't familiar with Miss Brazil, she is a senior political strategist and is frequently seen on CNN. In addition, she is the first African American to lead a major presidential campaign. In preparation to hear Miss Brazil speak, I decided to read her book, Cooking with Grease, Stirring the Pots in America. In this book, she talks about her childhood and growing up in New Orleans and how she first got interested in the political process and her path to where she is right now. She also talks about the influence that her family has had on her and her love of cooking, hence the title, Cooking with Grease. What really hit home for me was a discussion in the book about creating opportunity. And she reiterated this point when she came to speak at Bradley back in 2006. I don't exactly remember the words that she used, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially she said that you can't be afraid to make opportunities, and don't be deterred by the fact that you weren't invited to take advantage of an opportunity. Sometimes to get a seat at the table of opportunity, You got to go through the back door and bring your own chair. In preparing for this talk, I wondered where we would be today if Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had waited for an invitation to the table of opportunity. This leads me to my next point, which is seek out mentors and be willing to be a mentor. A mentor is defined as being a wise and trusted guide or an advisor. I have had many mentors in school, and I continue to have mentors that guide me in my career today. If you feel that you need a mentor to help you through school or your career, please seek them out and don't be afraid to ask. Conversely, potential mentors out there, when you are approached to be a mentor, please accept. When you are in a situation where you have an opportunity to mentor someone, step up to the plate. Mentor-mentee relationships can take many forms and don't have to be formal or complicated. I am sure that there are a number of you sitting out there right now who are serving as a mentor for someone and you are not even aware of it. One mentor that I had early on when I started my clinical rotations in the hospital was a surgical resident named Dr. Michael Green. Like many mentor-mentee relationships, it just happened spontaneously. I was on the first week of my surgical rotation and had a 5-minute break between cases. Dr. Green took that time and pulled me aside. He told me that he wanted me to do well on this rotation and get an outstanding designation. He then proceeded to tell me what book I should be using to study from, how I should present my patient on rounds, and what I needed to be doing to do well on that rotation. Even though I was a bit overwhelmed, I thanked him for his advice. Throughout that rotation, Dr. Green checked in with me frequently and asked me how I was doing. Because of the 5 minutes that Dr. Green spent with me, I was able to get through my surgical rotation successfully and obtain an outstanding designation. Looking back at that experience, I realized how short-sighted I was. I was just concerned about surviving, whereas Dr. Green was concerned about my success. That experience in my life truly speaks to the importance of having a mentor and being one as well. And in closing, I have a final thought that I'd like to leave you with. Know your history. As I was sitting there listening to Mrs. King do the welcome and hearing her talk about our national leaders, state leaders, as well as our local leaders, I was filled with immense pride. It is important that we know about Martin Luther King and what he stood for and what he endured so that we can have the opportunities that we have today. It is also important that we know about persons such as Dr. Benjamin Carson and a host of others so that we know that no matter what your background is, all things are possible. This past fall, I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Ali, Mrs. King, and others at the College of Medicine, including our dean, Dr. Sarah Rush, to bring the documentary Storming the Gates to Peoria. Storming the Gates was put together by the Illinois African American and Latino Higher Education Alliance. And as Mrs. King mentioned, it is a documentary that chronicles the struggles that African Americans and Latinos have in their quest for higher education here in the state of Illinois. The documentary did an excellent job of telling the history of the struggle for equality in education, giving a summary of where we are now and where we need to go. Following the documentary, we had a panel discussion, and we were so privileged to have Mr. D.J. Wells from the University of Illinois at Chicago, one of the masterminds behind this documentary, come speak to us and moderate a panel discussion. We also had our own Dr. Rita Ali as well. So in addition to talking about the documentary and the content, we talked about the importance of knowing your history, and not just knowing your history, but teaching others. It is imperative that we teach our children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, cousins, and all the young people in our life about our history.